Good morning, it's Brian with Ion Prepping and welcome back for another episode. Today we're going to talk about this little guy right here. This little guy is called a Ferrous rod, and I would highly recommend that you have one of these. If you don't have one of these, just email me at Brian at IEYE on prepping, PREPPING.com, and I'll make sure you get one. But I highly recommend one of these. So what does this little thing do here? What does a Ferrous rod do? In essence, it's your fire source. It's the only source you'll ever need to start a fire again. Now, obviously, we have these. You know, these guys are pretty easy, straightforward, right? But what happens with these? They run out of fuel. So depending on your situation, you may run out of fuel, and then what do? Of course, then we have matches, right? And they're good, but this one is limited quantity. There's only 40 matches in this pack. So what that means is once they're out, I have no more. And these happen to be waterproof, and I can show you how to waterproof matches. But what if they're not and they get wet? The sulfur on them is no longer good. The matches aren't going to light. So what we talk about is with the Ferrous rod, and it generates heat. And we talk about why is heat important? Well, I mean, you have your obvious, right? It keeps you warm, you can cook. But there's so many more reasons that heat and what this little guy can generate is important. For example, you're in a survival situation and you know there's animals of some type. You know, creating a fire will ward off animals. If you're wounded and you're bleeding, you can actually cauterize a wound with fire. One of the biggest things people don't think about a lot, but it's kind of common sense when you hear it, is light. The fire will actually, you know, creates a light that you can use. So there are many reasons why fire is important other than for heat and cooking. And so what I recommend is this, and I'm going to show you how to use this. And then this is twine, literally twine. I'll show you how to use that. And then char cloth. And once again, if you don't have any char cloth, I can do two things. I can send you some, or I can show you how to make char cloth, which is very easy. This and this will almost guarantee a fire each and every time. There are certain scenarios where if you're being drenched with rain, that may be a little bit more of a challenge, but it's still possible. So what this does is when you buy these, it comes with this black coating on there, and that coating is just a protective coating. And over time, as you begin to use it, you can see that coating comes off, and down is a silverish metal, which is ferrous rod, which is basically an iron type metal. And what happens is when you strike it real hard, it creates sparks. That spark is all you need to start a fire. And you say, well, Brian, that's a tiny spark. How am I going to capture that? Well, I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's see how this little guy could work, saving your life in a number of situations. And by the way, where matches and lighters and steel wool and some of the other items to start a fire, this will last you forever. Look how big that is. I mean, one of these for your lifetime, to always have it with you in your bug out bag, in your purse, in your glove box, wherever you need it, could save your life. So let's see how this works in action. All right, so how does this work in action? Well, the first thing we do, let's learn how to strike this thing. Once again, this is a black metal coating to protect the metal. You're going to have to strike it through, and you can typically, in a bug out, you can use a file at home to get it off, and eventually it'll look like that silver metal. If you're out in camping or you're in a survival situation, you can just take your knife. I'm going to show you two different ways that do it, one that works. This is just a Moore knife. They are the greatest knives, and I always carry them with me. I always use the back of the blade. You'll see some people who say, hey, use the front of the blade. I always want to keep this sharp. I don't want to ruin that blade, which you can do. In a survival situation, nevertheless, you have to do what you have to do. So the whole idea, by the way, this is going to be rather hard to get to work. And the reason is, see how smooth that back tang is right there? That's going to make it very hard to scrape that metal to get a spark. The idea, and then I'll show you the easy way. The idea is you hold your knife at an angle, and I am not moving this hand. This hand with the knife is steady. I'm putting it on the back blade of the blade, and I'm pulling. So this hand is stable, and I'm pulling. Well, you see nothing is really happening no matter how hard I press. And that's because that blade is just too smooth. It's not going to work. There's no real good edge. So now you're gonna love this. I carry a Bear Grylls knife on our bug out bag. I bought these originally about 8 years ago, 9 years ago, just because they were cheap and I wanted to keep them in my daughter's bug out bag. It was a nice disposable knife. Well, guess what? I ended up loving this more than my SOGs, more than my other knives as well. So I always carry this. Now you'll see on the back of the Bear Grylls knife, there's actually a little notch. And that little notch is used to actually help you start a fire. It's made to actually be used with the Ferrous rod, so it's a little bit easier. So I'm going to hold my knife still, right? We said still, and then I'm going to press up hard. I got to press firm, right? Because I got to get that friction created. And then I just pull my arm back. There you go. So, all right, so that's how you create a flame. It takes a lot of practice. The second thing you should do is always keep twine. Sorry you can't see my face, or maybe not. Maybe that's a gift. But you should always keep twine. Now twine is great to start a fire. It's quick, it's easy. Try to get down here. What you do with the twine is you just spin it, and eventually as you spin it, twine is just multiple layers of rope put together. It will come off into 2 or 3 different layers of rope, or strands actually, sorry about that. And you can see, there's 3. You just keep spinning it. What you do, you can see the 3 there, is you take this and you do the same thing. You keep spinning them down, and eventually what happens is as you do it, and I won't do it here to save time, is you get very thin fibers. See that? These will light very, very easy. What you can do, I'm grabbing it right here, is, this is a small one by the way, is create basically a bird's nest. And you can see this is very easy, hair-like fibers that will just absolutely light quick and easy in any emergency situation. And then this would be used to keep something burning. Say for example you're in the middle of Atlanta snowstorm, you happen to have twine, because you can just throw it in your glove box and your Ferrous rod. You could burn the papers in a book, in the rims of your tires to create heat, right? So the other thing that I'll show you how to make if you want to is char cloth. This is really just jeans, and I'm going to thank Arkansas Prepper. He gave us, he used to own a shop and gave us just boxes and boxes of jeans. And what we do is we smolder it, and which means we create charcoal by not allowing oxygen in a little box, like, I don't know, like a tin of some type, Altoids box, something of that nature. And this will catch on fire, and then all we're going to do, or it'll catch a spark from our Ferrous rod, and we're going to put it in here, and we're going to blow, and this is going to ignite, which would ignite your paper. So let's try it and see how it works in practice. Alright, so here we go. I've got my char cloth. So I'm just going to hold my knife. Remember, this arm is still, and I'm going to pull up, and I'm going to direct the sparks towards this char cloth. And nope, didn't catch it there. No, I can't see. I'm sorry, I got my glasses. I may have a spark flame on it and not even know it. Watch my knife. Nope, that was not. Okay, so that's okay. It takes a couple times. This is real life. There we go. We got one. Okay. You can see that little ember. That's all you need. Now look at how slow I'm going. I'm not rushing. I'm not hurrying. I've got plenty of time. This is not a time to panic. Let's get a fire going. And you can see that it's this char cloth, because it's just like charcoal. It's going to slowly smolder and burn. And if this doesn't work, this is a lot of char cloth, by the way, I just get another piece and do it again. So now I'm going to take that, and here's my bird's nest, right? I'm just going to plop that in there. There's a couple ways to do it. And then it's in there. You can probably see the flames, and just blow real slow. Now this may not be enough char cloth, because see the smoke coming? If I keep blowing, it'll literally ignite, and that would start your fire. I just got to wrap it around. There we go, a little better. drop it because it's a little char cloth and it burned me. So that's the funny part about it, right? But nevertheless, what that would have done is that would have started, you know, you would have just, you would have much more. So when you got a flame, you wouldn't have to throw it out on the ground like I did. But it was so quick that I was going to burn my fingers. So it's Brian Foster saying thank you for watching Eye on Prepping. We really appreciate it. And that little Ferrous rod could save your life in a number of situations. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email us. And as always, we would appreciate it if you would like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube. Once again, thanks for your support and appreciate everything you do. Have a great day.